The important thing to note is that if your instructor has placed an item on reserve, so a lot of times Dr. Campbell or someone will have you access, or Dr. VJ for certain, because she has DVDs and things that they will put in the library for students to use. You can ask for them at the circulation desk, but what we'll do again is ask for your ID, and we will check that out to you for a 2-hour period. And those items, if there's a reserve item, a laptop, a headphone, or something like that, those all have a 2-hour checkout period, and they have to be used inside of Holgate Library on that main floor where you checked it out at. So those are the main things, but all of that information is listed here as well. And we'll talk a little bit later about, well, what if you can't access something in Holgate Library, if we don't have a book that you're looking for, or we don't have an article that you're looking for a class, the things that we can do to kind of help you with that. What I really want to focus on right now are the electronic resources that we have, and then that way that allows you, whether you're inside of the library or in your dorm room or somewhere else, you'll be able to pull these materials down to support your research. And there are quite a few things. There are open educational resources. Of course, there's a Google Scholar. There's our catalog that you can check to be sure that something is there before you come over to the library. There's subject guides, which I think will be really important for everybody. There's the writing and citing that we talked about at 4 o'clock. And then we have an extensive list, the A to Z list, that we'll explore, that also talks about a myriad of resources that you could try to use. So on that, let me go to where the education guide is for an example. This is just one example, and I got there by clicking on, if we went to Holgate Library Home, we could take a look at our research guides. And like I said, in addition to the writing and citing that you'll see kind of front and center, over on the left-hand side, we have the subject guides. And so we were going to explore education for one and then biology for another, and just let you see the types of things that we have. This one isn't on. Oh, gosh. Okay, can you hear me, Taylor? Are we picking up? Okay. All right, hopefully that's better. We're good now? Awesome. Okay. Let me angle. So, for example, if we were to do the education, you'll see a lot of the books and references that we have. And also, I think most importantly are the databases, because if your professor is asking you to look into a journal to pull some articles, you'll find all of those in the database. So, for example, in the education section, you have the ProQuest education journals, and then it'll list any other, like a JSTOR, any other type of database that they feel is relevant to education students. So child development and adolescent studies, family and society studies worldwide, and other things like that will be there. And also for biology, the same type of setup. It'll be the same across academic disciplines, but of course the resources that are listed under each section would vary. So the databases for biology, you'll find a ProQuest Central. You'll find something called Science in Context, and that's another good start for people that are starting research. So we'll take a look at that one really quickly. Okay, so the way that it's set up, everything tends to have like that centralized search if you wanted to go directly into that. And then other than that, you can always browse your topics, take a look at your history, have highlights and notes and things like that. So they also break it down into browsing the topics. You can browse them all, or you can see what subset of topics that you have, and they kind of list things that are new or updated. For example, vaping. And so they give you an overview of that particular topic, and you can always try to read more about it. Some of the interesting things that I like of this particular setup is that they'll kind of break down the journals that they have, audio and images, and a lot of times This may be a resource that you want to go to also pull images that are related to your topic if you're doing a presentation or a paper. And what you can do is separate that out, go to the images, and what they'll do, you can click on that. And as we were talking about the importance of citing and attribution, they'll have that citation out for you that you can copy and put into what you're going to submit for your assignment. Another resource that I feel is really helpful across topics and across disciplines is CQ Researcher. And once you go to that A to Z list for the Bennett College Holgate Library, it'll be, of course, listed alphabetically, and you can go into CQ Researcher. And for example, if I pull that up, I can then search vaping, for example, that we just looked at in here and see what we get. They have a lot of hot topics. So climate change is one. You'll see things on gun control, the immigration policy. A lot of the conversations that you are seeing happening are also discussed and reported about here. So in this particular instance, when we use the keyword vaping, we're finding out the most recent thing that I see is about the e-cigarette dilemma. And the way that this particular resource breaks down the information that they're sharing, they give you an introduction and an overview. And one of the unique features that I think is really, really helpful is this pro and con. A lot of times you may be asked, you're trying to create your thesis or your argument, and this may help you to understand different viewpoints about the same topic. So pro and con is a good one. And then in this instance, they have two different people taking two different sides and kind of sharing what they feel about this particular prompt, which is the FDA doing enough to regulate e-cigarettes? So they also break out the maps and the graphs. There's the bibliography like you guys will be doing. So in this instance, the bibliography is broken down by the type of resource. So you have books and articles and reports. But when you submit your 5 source bibliography, you're just really focusing on presenting your sources, but then alphabetizing them and making sure that they are in the correct format. And we'll take another look at the format. It's going to be really important for you, even though we saw that example with the image a moment ago where you were able to pull that citation out. That one happened to be formatted a little bit more correctly. This one, if you were to copy and paste, I think some of the citations. So it'll give you an APA style, but one of the characteristics that you will see if you go to Purdue OWL or in our writing and citing is that is something called the hanging indent. Once you submit your works cited, your bibliography, your references page, it'll be alphabetized, but it'll also be in a format that has a hanging indent. And if you were to just copy and paste this, you may or may not get that with your first line left justified and the other lines indented. So just pay attention that that is also a required element when you are doing your citations. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to point out, so again with this A to Z list, let's get back to that. So when that information came across my email, I saw so many things that was happening. Of course, there was the resume drive-through that happened at noon today already. There was an announcement about Sisters for Success, that is the ACEs for tomorrow, which is really interesting. There is also on Tuesday, November the 5th, there is Graduate and Professional School Day that's happening. And because I saw all these emails coming out today, I kind of wanted to align some of Holgate Library resources with things that would be supporting these types of events. So for resume drive-through, what we have in our A to Z list, we have Cypress Resume. So for many of these, they're going to link out for you. Certain ones like JSTOR and maybe even Cypress Resume, they may ask for you to set up an account. And usually it is a painless process. Let's go to JSTOR so you can see it. So for JSTOR, you would register. And when they ask you to do that, they're just asking for really basic information. Everything would be a free account, and you are entitled access through Holgate Library subscription. But for example, you would create a username and a password. You would list your email and your first and last name and things like that. So once you do that, then you'll be able to sign in on subsequent visits to that site. And it's likely that Cypress Resume also has that. Also, we have Ferguson's Career and Guidance Center. And that is a little bit more than just creating your resume. This one, once you link out to it, you'll see quite a few options. And what it allows is for you to kind of explore these industries and careers. Also planning your education if it requires graduate education. You'll see things like that. So this is another resource that came to my mind when I saw that resume drive-through. Definitely make sure that when you hear things that are happening on campus, whether it's help with the writing center, help from the writing center, or these types of opportunities, I really encourage you to attend these in-person events as well as exploring some of the electronic opportunities that you would have. Another one that seemed really relevant to me for the Sisters for Success that's coming up is the Occupational Outlook Handbook, and that's definitely linked as well in our A to Z list. And this one is another exploration tool. So if you happen to get inspired by something that one of our guest presenters or visitors shares about their career or their professional path, there are always ways for you to look and see if those things align or what other opportunities you can explore if you're interested in that. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook is another way for you to do that. So you'll see just groups of occupations. There's also a search as well that you can do that. Both Ferguson's and this Occupational Outlook Handbook. If you were interested, for example, you have Stephanie Martis, who was a belle from 2000. She's with the Greensboro Police Department. You have a graduate from 90, Jacqueline Johnson, who's with Volvo Financial Services. There are a lot of ways for you to explore different career options under these types of industries if you're interested in, and the Holgate Library allows you to do that as well. In terms of the Graduate and Professional School Day that's coming up, the Testing and Education Resource Center to me is a really good reference for that one. And with this one, it's geared more towards graduate study. Oh, we gotta get closer. Okay, that's cool.
It's got in and out on you.
Oh.
You might be able to try that.
Okay. Okay. All right, so for Testing and Education Resource Center, you get the option of picking out what type of student you are, but even more importantly, you're looking at career and grad school, the different tests that are available. So at Holgate Library, we do have print resources and books that'll help you to practice these tests, so for the GRE or Praxis, for example. But a lot of young ladies are also more interested in the electronic resources. So you can explore what the offerings are here, and you can also just do a search and you'll find practice tests, for example, for the Praxis core exams and other tests as well. The event that I'm trying to help you guys get out on time for, what I also thought was really interesting, is this flyer that was about joining the makerspace. And so it's encouraging creative young ladies, people that are creating things, crafting things, which I did see that Bell pop-up shop, which was really awesome. So I hope you got a chance to participate or shop and support that. But this one is talking about things such as quilting, jewelry making, garment design that's happening today in the basement of Black Hall at 6:30. One things that I thought of when I saw this is that it's really important that you not only restrict yourself to using library resources to your academic or professional development, but support your personal interests as well. So if you have things that are your hobbies, your interests, if you're an entrepreneur, find other ways that you can also use these library resources to support that. If you're interested in global travel, you can go, for example, to Mango Languages, and you have access to that. And I'm not going to sign in, but there's also an option for, at least there used to be, an option to use it as a guest right now. Again, you would create your username, password, and you'd be able to explore quite a few languages. If you're using it as a guest, there are a select few languages that you can explore, for example, Spanish. And you can use this whether it's travel related for your personal, or even if you're doing something and you have a Spanish class on campus, this can perhaps be support for you. Another way for you to explore if you have a different learning style that what your instructor is supporting for you, you can go here and kind of do these same types of things. And it has a really interactive option.
This is how we say, how are you, in a formal setting. ¿Cómo está usted?
So then you get to kind of see the pronunciation key. You get to use your voice comparison where it records your speech and aligns that. So you can totally do that on any of those languages as well. The other resource I thought about with this makerspace were films on demand, and then there's Heritage Quest. So for films on demand, this one has quite a few resources similar to us seeing that tutorial about plagiarism. They have a lot of topical guides, so things that are featured this month, of course, with October and breast cancer. They have a lot of things that are happening there. It's Halloween. They have a lot of things that are happening that you can access there as well. And then when you get to core concepts, that one you'll see writing essentials, and there's ones about plagiarism and other ways. And so some of them are actual, you'll see like animations like we saw the first time, and then you also get to see just regular videos that you would expect from people sharing their skills on that. And then another one for people that are interested in genealogy is Heritage Quest, and I really enjoy this one. So if you're doing something with history, if you're doing something with your family, then you can also go to Heritage Quest online. You can check out census records, for example, and then you would input some information in here. I can do, okay, so I'm actually looking for my great-grandfather and his daughter. I'll see if that's enough information. Oh, no, I'll put gender in. Wow. Okay, so I added Texas because I knew that my grandmother grew up in Texas. And Geraldine is his wife. So that's my great-grandmother. Harold is my great-grandfather. Velma is my grandmother. And this is when she was 6. And this is her baby brother, Uncle Larry. And it looks like he was 4. I'm not sure what the 4 and 12 is about. But it's just another way for you to navigate some genealogy. And so you may or may not have history or genealogy for a class, but it could be a personal interest that you have. So there are resources in this extensive list that will support pretty much any interest that you have. So again, I encourage you to take a look at that. And we're almost getting time. So aside from the resources that we share with you, I want to also encourage you to not be limited by that. Don't be limited only by what you see or what we would link out for you. There are so many other things. So we provide links on our main page to the open textbook, several open textbook initiatives. And one of them is this one, the Open Textbook Library. And there's about 3 or 4 of them that we particularly share with, OpenStax, OER Commons. And so you can look at a lot of the primary comprehensive, like 101 courses, 100 level courses, and you'll see resources for that as well, and that can support you as you go through your own particular coursework. Another way to explore, like I showed you earlier, was this publication manual with the APA. Consider going to the source. If it's something that you're interested in, you don't have to stick with what the library presents to you. Like if we link you out to Purdue OWL, and if you know that the APA is the American Psychological Association, go directly to them and see what type of resources and tutorials that they list out for you. I remember Professor Lipscomb mentioned to me power searching, doing advanced search or Google Scholar or Google Advanced Searching. That's definitely something I would really be interested in covering. But in the meantime, if it's something that you really needed at the moment, you can always go like to a Google or to a support group, and they'll generally have ways for you to figure out that particular challenge that you're having. And that's when it talks about wildcard operators, the around operator. So it may even be something that's listed here that I wouldn't cover, because I would do Boolean, I would do wildcard, I may not do number range. I may not do site structure or something like that when I do my talk. And I also encourage you to go, like if you're having trouble with your Office, Microsoft Office or something, go directly to the support. So many people list tutorials and support sites that you can always use that as a resource as well. And so the last thing I want to share with you is more related to, we talked about our career resources. So what I would like to bring to you is some of the archival material that we have. And I'll get to go more in depth with that with Professor Lipscomb's class at a different time that we'll set up. But I also want you guys to have these links. So some of the archival material that we support and that we've contributed to directly is the Holgate Digital Library. If you are interested in reading the Bennett Banner newspaper, we have copies that go back to 1934, and these are searchable. The Bennett Bell yearbooks go back into the 60s. And again, you're able to search full text within that document, within those yearbooks. We have contributions to a collaborative joint effort. You'll see catalogs and things from 1900 are in this collection. And we also have other like photos and things that are in this particular collection. Regarding the sit-in story, when you guys are talking about the sit-ins or you're researching your bells, if they have participated in the sit-ins, some really good resources are listed here. The Bell sit-in story, which we'll link out to, and the other two we won't. This has a lot of profiles on participants there, so you may see somebody that's on your list or somebody that's on that list here. Dr. Esther Terry is a past president, and Dr. Willoughby Player, of course, was very important, and she's a president. She was a president here. So you can see oral histories and interviews with these links here. This one, let's see if we can link out to it. So these are profiles. Again, Dr. Esther Terry's story is here, but you can hear Dr. Terry speak about herself as opposed to just reading about it. And then there will be several people who participated, and you may recognize something.
But, can I suggest that maybe this might be a source for people who are still looking for a bell, take it from your list.
Absolutely. This is a really good, this will be a great choice for you to explore who you want to do your final project on. It'll provide some really good context. There'll be more research that you have to do. But if just looking at a name doesn't inspire you a lot, you get to hear a little bit more about who these people were and what they did and how that aligns with your interests. And then you can choose based off of that. So I think that's all I really wanted to share with you. And I definitely wanted to let you guys get out. But if you have questions, always feel free to come to Holgate Library. Any librarian will be more than happy to help you with any project that you have, academic or personal. Okay? Thank you.
That when speakers come for the evening sessions, just so you can keep this in mind, maybe this will adjust behavior and irritation level. Is if Baker-Whitaker is volunteering after hours